Good morning and welcome to the Resident Council meeting for August. You can't hear me? I can't hardly ever have a problem with people hearing me. I will speak up a little bit more or get closer. Council members, you need to add in your agenda that the election committee is reporting and it is not on your printed agenda. It will be up here, but it's not on your printed agenda, so add the elections committee on your reports, please. I always need to get approval of the minutes. Would someone do you approve of the minutes? We need to find out. Will somebody make a motion to approve the minutes, please? Oh, speak up. Thank you, Bev, thank you. Does someone second that motion? Okay, we have a second. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? All those in favor of approving them, please say aye.
Aye.
They are approved. Our financial report, do we have one of those, Sandy,
We
today?
do not.
We do not. Our treasurer should be back next month. We think she'll be back next week, but we're not positive. She's always out of town all summer, but we don't have much financial activity anyway, so it works out okay. So we will move on to our reports, and our administration has just walked in the door, so we're ready for you, whichever one of you is going to do that, or both. We're ready, Cole?
Good morning, everybody. Start off with talking about sales activity. So far for the month of September, which I think should pretty much be just about closed, or excuse me, for the month of August, we are looking at 12 sales on our board. 5 of those are apartments, 1 is a cottage, and 6 are what we are selling the new apartments. So total of 12.
You mean the ones that haven't been started yet?
Correct. Right? We are selling blue sky, and people are buying it, and it's beautiful. As far as move-in activity, a lot of move-in activity. We had 8 move-ins. 4 of those were apartments, and 4 were cottages, so split right down the middle. Just to talk about the project that we have been working on and selling. The project, really, phase 1 is 40 apartments. We, in order to obtain your bond financing, you need to pre-sale a certain amount of those before the bond market is comfortable and excited about giving you money to help you build this building. And that line was drawn at 20, and we have crossed that line. We are right at, I think, 22, should be 23 if we aren't already there here very, very soon. So quicker than we would have expected, a lot more successful than we would have expected, which is all good things. It's also scary, but it's happening. So a lot of activity going on as it relates to getting ready for that bond financing, and we have a letter, if it hasn't already been distributed, will be to all residents, making you aware of the bonds being available for purchase as a resident. That was something that was very popular in 2012, and we decided that we would, of course, offer it again this go around. At the village meeting next Thursday, we will have a representative from Ziegler, who we are using for our financing. They will come here and talk a little bit more about how those bonds work, and if anyone were interested, be available for lots of questions and answers. So that will be something that you can look forward to. Thank you to everyone who is helping support our Alzheimer's fundraising activities. There has been a lot of fun stuff going on. I see a purple shirt. That's a great example of one of the ways that we're able to support this fundraising activity. Life Care Services has made this a big priority for them at a corporate level and kind of has created a bit of a competition amongst communities, and you know us, we like to compete. So we are doing everything we can to be at the top of that list in terms of fundraising activity. and I think we're doing a nice job. To that, we have on September 28th, it'll be a Saturday from 11 to 2 down in the rec center will be the annual Alzheimer's fundraising barbecue. There will be more information in the Villager about that, but if you want to mark your calendars now, we would love to have you there. It is a fundraiser. The price of entrance is $20 per person, and that would not be eligible for dining dollars. So hope to see you folks come out. We have a wonderful menu we've put together, and historically that has been a very successful, fun luncheon that people have enjoyed attending. So hope to see you there. Something else we have revamped. 2 years ago, we did our first responder appreciation barbecue down in the rec center. We invited all of the Tempe and Mesa fire, police, and EMTs to join us for a barbecue lunch on the village, just to express our appreciation. We tend to use those resources more than most organizations in the area, so it is nice to be able to give thanks back to them. The first one was a success. It wasn't as well as attended as we would like, but quality over quantity, absolutely. It was wonderful. We missed it last year, and we have recommitted ourselves to doing this, and so on September 13th, we will be holding that in the rec center from 11 to 2, inviting all of those first responders so that we can thank them properly. And the last thing would be we have just received an overwhelming amount of support on the lobby remodel project. I'm glad that everybody loves it. And that it's been so well received. I was not prepared for it to be as well received as it was. So your tremendous support and feedback has been much appreciated, and we can't wait to get that whole thing buttoned up so that we can take a step back and see where we're at. So that is
Thank you,
my
Cole.
report.
Are there any questions from the council? We have some. Let's start.
I see hands.
Call the date for the Alzheimer's.
September 28th
Thank you.
from 11 to 2.
You have one.
Cole, what's the status of the community garden?
The status of the community garden is that we are continuing to work with the city of Tempe to get to a point where we can finalize the lease. There was some questions that recently came up on kind of boundaries and our intended use. And so Ryan Companies is who we are working with from the architect development side. They had some questions that they had to answer, and they've given those back to the city. So now it's back in their court. But we do not have an official lease that has been approved and signed off on yet. And in absence of doing that, there really isn't a lot of physical work that can be done in that space until we have that locked up.
When do you expect it to be completed?
I would hope to see it done by October at the latest, hopefully in September, but things don't always move as quickly as I would like, and so it could be in October.
Thank you.
Are there any other, yes, Doris? Be sure.
For the first responders meal, do we need some special credentials?
No, I assume you folks have talked about that. That is something that we are always looking for opportunities to involve the folks who are on the Residence Council, who volunteer their valuable time and help guide this ship. And so when we were talking about it, we felt like having representatives from Residence Council be invited to join us was a great idea, and give them an opportunity to also, on behalf of all of our residents, be a part of expressing our appreciation. So no, I think we'll probably trust you, and we'll shake you down if we're not sure. We'll have police at the door.
They have a list. Are there any other questions from the council? Are there any questions from the residents? I guess that's it, Cole. Thank you very
All
much.
right, have a nice Labor Day weekend. Thank you.
So now we are ready for our committee reports, and I guess we'll start with you, Grace, the Activities Committee.
On Labor Day, September 2nd, ping pong and cornhole will be available at the rec center from 8 to 4. And the first pancake breakfast after the summer break will be Tuesday, September 3rd, from 8 to 8:45 in the rec center. And the Village Voice podcast will be available for listening on Channel 1960 at 1 p.m. on September 6th. And the featured resident guest is Preble Ware. Future broadcasts will be on the first Friday of the month, and so be sure and tune in. The next Thursday night at the Rec Center will be September 19th.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council, from the Activities Committee? Are there any from the residents? Thank you, Grace. It was my understanding that the Constitution and Bylaws Committee was going to make a report. Do we have someone from that committee that's doing that? Apparently not. I will say this, they have formed an ad hoc committee within their committee to study some of the Constitution and bylaws of other communities similar to ours. I guess they're looking into checking to see if they've got it covered. So I expect we'll hear from them maybe next month. So we will move on to the Dining Committee. And Paul is making his way.
Madam President and members of the resident council, we had a dining committee meeting on August 15th, and it was chaired by Dave Rushlow, and I want to thank Dave for filling in for me when I was gone for a couple of months during the summer. I'm back now, but I missed that meeting, but I'm going to give the report anyway. It turns out that I wasn't the only one missing. The dining staff was also missing from that meeting because they were attending a training session dealing with the new registers that are going to be used for checkout at the various venues. And the new system is called Full Count. And supposedly, I think it's going to come into effect on Monday, the 16th of September. And it shouldn't cause any much difference to us. The register slips might look a little different, but just want to let you know that that's going to happen. At the meeting, Cole attended and helped a lot in giving comments, and is always very informative and fun too to have. And he mentioned that the comment cards are very important. The staff all read those comment cards, and he likes to not only get concerns and problems and that sort of thing, but also when there's good things to report, like good help from the servers or the staff, or good food or whatever. So that also means a lot to them, so they know what is working, and so that's another thing they want to do. People may have noticed that there's been an upgrade to the pantry, the village pantry area, and that is still in process, really. But that is ongoing, and at the time of the meeting, it hadn't started yet, so there's not much talk about that at that point. The Garden Cafe is being planned to be upgraded. That's the one in the healthcare center down on the bottom floor, and they plan to upgrade it to a full-service type cafe, and so that residents can go there just like they go to our cafe. So they'll be adding cooks and kitchen facilities and that sort of thing to the Garden Cafe. Also, they're going to be upgrading the Del Fuego by taking the apartment that's next door to it and turning it into a kitchen. And so that will be upgraded too. And those events will probably not happen until the first quarter of next year. It's something that's in the planning stage now and will occur, but probably not till after the first of the year. You've probably read that we have a new executive chef now, Travis Fairhaller. I think I said that right, I don't know. But he is on board, and the first thing he's going to be working on is fireside menus. And it's going to take a little while because it's one thing to identify the dishes you want, but then you have to come up with recipes that are able to be handled and correctly handled by all the different cooks that might come across them and need to prepare them. So for consistency purposes, they want to check that out pretty well. They also want to do test tasting on all of it and also make sure that the plates look good and attractive when they come to the table. So that's going to take a while before all that gets done, before they actually introduce the new menus. They're also going to be working on a possibility of doing some tableside preparation in the fireside, which would be like salads or desserts or something that are prepared right at the table. But that's under, that's not going to happen right away either. I want to remind everybody that there is a dining forum scheduled for September 12 at 10 here in the Skirm. And so the new executive chef will be here, Brian will be here, of course. And so I think that that'll be a good opportunity to get more detail on all of these ongoing things that are happening with in the dining services. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any questions from the resident council? Yes, Bob? Be sure and lean forward.
I noticed that your charter does not include the Embers or the El Fuego Sports Bar. Offhand, it would seem logical to include that in the dining committee's responsibility, but apparently that would require some change to the procedures manual to include that because they are not specifically mentioned as part of your responsibility. Just wondering what you would think about that.
Well, the dining committee is very pleased to assume responsibility for those, even though it's not in the procedures.
Yeah.
But I think that's right. Maybe we should update the procedure manual to include those. I think that charter was probably written before those.
Oh, yes, those have been added since that was written.
Yeah.
You might put a note about that in Marty Whalen's box, because that's the things they're working on right now. And that would, to include those things so that they can add that while they're at it. Are there any other comments or questions from the council?
Excuse
you
me,
had some more,
I
Bob?
I didn't understand. Did you say that that's already included?
No, I did not say that. I said that Paul should make a note to our Constitution and Bylaws chairman to include that while they're working on those things. Okay, any other questions? Are there any questions from the residents? Oh, our residents are really quiet today. Thank you, Paul. Our next report is from the Elections Committee, and I assume that you'll be explaining some of this. We got a lot of paperwork. You did give everybody one of those sheets like this?
I'll get into that. First,
Okay.
I'd like to introduce members of the committee that are present,
Good, thank you.
and we'll start with Doris Clement. Wilma, are you here? Wilma Mirich. And lastly, Tom Pagel, who is a representative on the council.
Good.
Thank you. The election is coming up in the later part of the fall, in late October, and will terminate on 1 November. What you're seeing projected is what I have passed out 2 weeks ago to all the area representatives to apprise them of their responsibilities and when things need to get done. They've had it for a couple of weeks. Some people have started marching forward, but I just want to ask if council members have any questions on what you have received.
Did you-
Okay, I will remind you that there are some dates that are coming up. The 15th of September, you need to form your area committee to figure out who is going to be your junior representative nominee for the election.
Or nominees, more than one would be good.
Could be more than one. So the 15th of September is when the kickoff is for you folks to form your committees. And then you owe a couple of responses back to myself and the committee to decide who are your nominees, and we have to start preparing the ballots. And that's the 15th of October. You owe us two things: your nominees and how many ballots you will need. Any questions on that?
This,
Okay.
Can I say something? This will mean that you need to know exactly how many people are in your area. I think since we're so full, it's pretty much every apartment or cottage, but you might need to check on that.
And don't forget, it's not just one ballot for the cottage or apartment, it's for every resident. So if you've got two people in the apartment, that's two ballots. Moving forward from that, the actual.
I think we have a question on that. Doris? I think,
What, is this going to be announced in the Villager to the entire community that this is happening?
Well, it's going to be part of the minutes, and yes, there will be announcements that the election is taking place, but that won't be probably until October. You've got responsibilities.
No, but I mean, in selecting,
Oh, no, that's up to you as the area reps to contact your people and apprise them.
and
well,
but
I
how
think that's fine. I think we should do that. But I think that there should be an announcement to the community that this will be taking place.
I'll take an action item on that.
do you want us to take care of that, or do you want to take care of that, Jay?
If you'd like to do it,
Well, an article probably is all you need in the Villager
Yes.
sometime before that, yeah.
so who do you want to do it?
I think it'd be lovely if you'd do it.
That's what I'm here for.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the council? We
Could
have another
Could we
question.
scan through the next area?
We have another question right beside you on your left.
Ah, Mary Ann. The election starts the 28th of October through the 1st of November and terminates at noon that day. The committee will distribute to you, the representatives, the ballots to be passed out, and that will occur on Sunday prior, the 27th of October. And the collection of the ballots, there will be a box at the reception desk for residents to insert their private ballot. And Nunnenkamp is being handled separately, and Bob is aware of what's going on there.
Are there any other questions? And you had some more information, did you?
Yes, I put up there that the area reps receive the ballots no later than the day before the first day of the election. We've just covered the dates with Mary Ann's question. Were there any other highlighted areas? Okay. And then I wanted to emphasize that after the election, where we have now, I have advised you via several means, the completion of the count will be provided to the executive committee, to all of you representatives, and we will post something on the alcove wall with the results, a matrix of how many ballots were passed out, how many came back, the percentage of completion, and who the new junior area rep is. So that, in a broad sense, I think covers it all. Are there any questions from the council?
Any more questions from the council? We all understand what we're doing. Okay. Are there any questions from the residents about elections?
I thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay. Very informative.
Oh, one last commercial. As I was passing out this hard copy to you area reps, I noticed that in the historic section of the apartments, which were the ones that were originally built in 1980, none of you are from the second floor, so mind that territory. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Talk to your second floor. The Welcome Committee did not meet in August because there wasn't anybody to introduce. And we're full, and I don't know how they're going to be operating. I'm sure they'll have one or two. There probably been some who've moved in that haven't been introduced. They probably will have a meeting in September, but I'm not sure of that. So we have no report from them. So that completes our reports. Does anybody have anything to say about any of the committees? Then we will move on. Old business. Last month, I had this on the agenda and forgot it. Joan has gone through and talked to everyone who has anything to do with all the many, many things that go on here at the village. We think we've covered it all, and she will give you a little update.
So hopefully, when you need this, you make reference to it. It's on the table under the stairwell there, and it is up to date. Everyone who is in here and their phone numbers are in this book. So I appreciate everyone responding to my note in their mailbox. Thank you very much. And I want you just to be reassured that you can rely on this book. If there's any interest that you have in anything that's happening here in terms of activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan, for doing that. She contacted every person that was on the original list to be sure that they were either still doing that or had a new person and got it up to date. That's a lot of work. Thank you a lot, Joan.
You're welcome.
Is there any new business? I have a few announcements. First of all, the next resident council meeting will be September 27th. Always remember to read your villager, and that doesn't go just for our residents out there, but for the council members as well. I introduced Jerry Hall at the village meeting. She is our new chairman of Safety, Security, and Transportation, and I think she's here. She might want to wave or stand up. Thank you, Jerry, for taking on that responsibility. There had been a request for a television in the exercise room, which is the Pinal Lounge, is where the exercise equipment in the apartment building is. And I mentioned that to our administrators, and they say they see no reason why they can't install one. So I would assume that that will happen fairly soon. I don't know how soon. This was a request of council members. So you do have a voice. If you talk to the people in your community and listen to what they have to say, you do have a voice. It does accomplish a lot. Cole mentioned the invitation for the First Responders Barbecue, and that you council members are going to get to go to that. I happened to be in the wood shop 2 years ago when they started that. And I thought, oh, they're all going into a barbecue. I wish I could go. And I didn't say a word to Cole, but he knew, I guess he wanted us all to be there. So you are invited to that. It's in on your agenda. It's from 11 to 2 on September 13th in the rec center. And it's really fun to see all of responders, and I'm sure that there'll be more this time. Is there any other business, questions, comments? Bob?
I appreciate the update to the procedures manual that includes the specification of responsibility for the calendar. However, it is defective in the sense that it does not include the GASDA amendment calling for distribution of the calendar also to the heads of committees.
Could you send an email to Marty have you sent an email about that to Marty? He's Marty Whalen, who is the chairman of the Constitution and Bylaws Committee. Could you refer that to him so that he can include that in his work that he's doing? If not, I can do that. But you could email, do you have Marty's email address?
I'll try to send them a notice, yeah.
Okay, thank you. That'd be a big help. Doris, did you have something to say?
I wanted to address Jerry Hall. Jerry, would your committee please look very carefully at the area between the fitness center and the walkway into the main building where the cafe is? I have seen several people who have really, they could have been hit out there because there's no sign for the traffic to stop on that road. I mean, everybody's supposed to watch, and everybody's supposed to go slow, but they don't always. So I hope that your committee will address that. Thank you. And the other thing I wanted to mention, and I should have asked Cole, but we haven't had a new directory this summer.
Are you talking about the new printed directory?
The
Not the
resident
pictorial
directory.
directory.
Usually, I think,
Yes.
Come out this afternoon.
Was that quick enough for you, Doris?
wonderful.
Now, talk about
I
good
asked at the
service.
right time. Thank you.
There will be a new pictorial directory, and I'll mention it now because I was going to wait till next month. Those of you who are representatives need to look in your pictorial and find out who does not have a picture in the pictorial. Some people choose not to have a picture, and that's okay. But some just are confused about where the pictures go and how it works. We'll know more about it in October when they're ready, or in September when they're ready to get started on new pictures. But you might want to look through your pictorial and for your area and write down the names of the people who do not have a picture, and then maybe we can contact them. And because the pictorial really isn't as complete as it would likely to be, but there's confusion about the pictures, so maybe we can clear that up. Are there any other comments? Is there any other business? Then if not, our meeting is adjourned, and I want to tell you that nothing spoils fun like finding out that it builds character. Have a good weekend.